everybody, and welcome back to Feeling Seen, the podcast that talks about the movies that help us feel seen. And my co-host today is a comic, is a podcaster, is an actor, vast orbit of television credits from what I was reading. Like, you might have caught this multi-hyphenate on The Mandalorian. You might have caught her in Hacks. You could listen to her podcast, Bitchin' Over Biscuits, or listen to her new comedy special, No Flies on Me. Jen Colbert, what do the people need to know about you before we get started today?
Well, listen, I say that to people. I tell them I'm on one episode of every show you're not watching. All those shows you've been meaning to get to, I'm on them.
But
so
shows
check
that
it out.
are potentially nominated for Emmys.
Yeah, listen, I've done a couple of good things, and I'm very lucky to get to work with good people, even though my parts tend to be on the smaller, more character-y side.
Small parts, only
but
small actors.
I agree. I love what I do, and I get to do it with great people, and to have been on sets like Hacks with Gene Smart, and to have been on The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau and Bryce Dallas Howard directed that episode.
What was the scale of that? Like, just being amidst, in the middle of?
The first day when I came in to they were like, we want to have you come in before we shoot to orient you with the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Because I'm not a Star Wars person.
Okay.
I did enjoy the one with the Ewoks in it because I thought those little Ewoks were super cute.
Yep.
And I had a Burger King glass from the Ewoks meal at my house for years and years.
Yeah, I miss the McDonald's glasses.
Yeah, but I'm not a Star Wars person. So I had to go watch the whole series and figure out what was going on, and there were words in the script that I didn't know and didn't know how to say, and certainly didn't know what they meant. It was very Shakespearean in that way. It was like you had to go to the text and figure out what it meant and what it said so that you could say it the right way.
Wow.
You couldn't just sort of cold read it. And in the audition, I'd been given fake sides.
Oh,
so
because they don't want to
give anything away,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
So the sides I was reading for the audition were about the president and stuff going on in the White House and corruption and stuff. So all they said was I was auditioning for a Marvel series on a streaming service. I didn't know what it was.
Sure.
And so my agent called me to be like, you booked it. And I was like, what did I book? I don't know what this is. And then I start getting emails from George Lucas Films, and I'm like, what happened? What is? I don't really understand what's going on right now. And then soon I got an email from Bryce Dallas Howard.
Whoa!
And I was like, he's very well spoken. And then realized who it was. I'm just not. I'm so bad at this in some respects. But it was truly incredible to be for the sets were amazing. At one point, I was being shot at by a droid. Spoiler alert! And there was no droid shooting at me. There was a guy on a rolly stool holding a broomstick so our eyes could follow something, and a green screen. So to have seen what they did with it after, because I had to go in and do a little bit of ADR, a little bit of the audio digital recording to get pieces that they missed because of the shooting and whatever. So when I went in to do that, you're looking at it while you're recording it so that your lips match up with your voice.
Yes.
And
ADR seems so hard.
It isn't. They give you a count in.
Okay.
It's so fun. It's
I've
one of
watched
the
it
most
and been
fun
like, oh my
things to
God,
do.
would I be so stressed that I somehow would forget how my own mouth moves when I talk and I wouldn't be able to match it?
You cannot be stressed. You have to just get the cadence of it. They let you listen to it a few times, and you just have to kind of say it that same way right after the beat. There's a little art to it, but you catch on very quickly. So when I did that, I got to see it all put together, right? There's not an old guy on a stool anymore. There's graphics and all the CGI and all that. And I was just amazed. I've never been. I've literally never watched anything I was in and been like, that was the coolest shit I've ever seen. Wow. It was the coolest shit I had ever seen.
That's so... I hearing it because, yes, franchise blow, streaming blow, all that, but, it's awesome to just, and then I saw myself in something that is Star Wars and was like, wow, that's fucking incredible.
Yeah, and listen, at that taping, at one point they come get me out of my trailer and they're like, we need to take you to the sphere. I'm like, okay. Where are we going now?
Yeah.
Jesus. So they take me to this room where there are they told me, over 400 cameras
like
in a circle.
Matrix style.
So they are taking, they're like, we need to do a 360 picture of you, and I go, what do I do? Like, do I get to like kung fu it out? Am I moving? What happens?
Am I on wires?
They're like, you just stand there and the cameras move. And I'm like, okay. They're like, we may have you move your head some. I'm like, okay. So we finished. I'm like, oh my God. So what? Is there going to be like a hologram of me or something? And he goes, no, it's for the action figures. What? I lost my shit right there.
Oh my God.
Now, there's not going to be like an individual action figure of me sold.
Sure.
But there will be a complete set in which my fat ass appears. And I am very excited about it. And I'm going to buy those complete sets, pull myself out, and then return them. No one will ever know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like going from like not even knowing what it is for to being like, we're now going to mold you for the action figure.
Right? I've been wanting there to be, my ultimate goal is to become a Pez dispenser. That is my ultimate goal. But if I could become an action figure with like a kung fu grip that like moves in some way, oh my God, I would lose my mind. That would be complete. I would be worried at that point that I was going to die soon because that was such a good thing to happen.
That's the culmination.
You ever hear like too many good songs on the radio in a row and you're like, I'm going to die in this car. This is God like playing me a playlist of my favorite songs all in a row. I'm about to die.
You're like, is my favorite meal also about to show up
I
in
know.
my lap?
If I get a phone call right now from Albert Brooks, I will know I'm about to die.
You mentioned a couple characters. Should we start with the TV route or should we start with the movie route?
Let's go TV.
Okay.
Let's go TV.
Tell us about the TV character you've brought to discuss.
I am all about Mindy Cohn from Facts of Life.
Okay.
Who I am friends with today.
No way.
Absolutely. Gorgeous,
I hope she's
lovely,
wonderful.
Fantastic human. So glad that I know her.
Natalie, aren't you going to finish your dinner box?
In a minute. I've already put the main course in here.
Oh. Jelly beans?
Some people like a sugar rush.
But as a kid, there were not heavy people on TV.
Right, yeah.
There just weren't. And I had just read the book Blubber by Judy Blume.
Oh, yeah.
Who I also met.
Okay.
And that's another story. But we have the same birthday, and so I feel very connected to her. And I've read all of her books. And I just read Blubber, and then Facts of Life started, right? And Facts of Life had so many characters that I felt seen by. Joe didn't show up till later.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I was actually just rewatching the clip today of Joe
girl, right?
shows up at the school for the first time.
Right. So
and immediately is fighting with Blair.
Right. And I love that. I love that the butch girl goes after the little femme one. Oh, that was like my little lesbian dream. But before that, Mindy Cohn was the first chubby person I had ever seen on TV. And it wasn't the subject of her entire existence.
Yeah.
So I loved that too. She was very funny. She was very liked. She was very personable. She always said the thing that made me, she seemed happy. She seemed joyful.
Yeah.
There was not this.
I think of Natalie, that character, and I think of like the big smile that just like overtakes her face so much her eyes are just like
I wanted
closed.
a baseball hat with the fallen lightning bolt so bad.
You know, you're one lucky guy. The guy I was supposed to talk to was called away on an emergency. His pet snake had a heart attack. The vet thinks it's stress, but I think it's cholesterol. Hi, I'm Natalie Green.
Hi, I'm Neil Richards. I'm a sophomore at Bates.
No, I thought you were here to check the gas meter. Just a little joke there. But stick around, I get much funnier.
You've got a real good sense of humor.
So do you.
But I haven't said anything funny.
Oh, you will. If not today, maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
What time?
You know, you're different than most of these girls.
Thank you.
Well, all they care about is how they look, and you don't care about that at all. I didn't mean it that way.
So I always adored that character, and When I was in high school, I went to a speech camp at Loyola Marymount University here in Los Angeles. I was, I'm a hick from Louisiana. I'd never really left. And I got into this speech camp. I competed in speaking and stuff in high school. And I got into this speech camp at Loyola Marymount University where Mindy Cohn was attending school. But I didn't know that. I'm just a hick from Louisiana. They're doing a speech camp. She's in college there, doing her thing. And we're in the cafeteria. We were staying on the university. It was the summer before, I think, her sophomore or junior year. We're in the cafeteria and I'm cutting up with my friends, whatever. And I look over and I'm like, is that fucking Mindy Cohn right there? Like, what? It wasn't even registering in my head.
Yeah.
And so I went up to her.
Okay.
And I was like, people must tell you this all the time. But you look just like Natalie from Facts of Life. And she was like, I am Natalie from Facts of Life. And I was like, shut the front door. Are you serious right now? And she was so nice. She was like, sit down. And we sat there and she ate a meal with me and we talked and whatever. Cut to 25, 30 years later, we do a storytelling show together. And I say to her, I'm like, when I was in high school, I was at Loyola. And she goes, I remember that. And I was like, are you just saying that to and she goes, no, I totally do. We sat there and talked about Snoopy. And I go, oh my God, we did.
God.
That was exactly right. That is what we sat there and talked about.
Wow.
And she's a lovely human being. And which only just reiterated to me more. I love when people are like their lovable characters.
Yeah.
Right? Villains can't do that.
Yeah.
But
one hopes.
But in my experience in Hollywood, the people that play nice people are assholes in real life.
I feel like
and the
that is
people
the
that play
kind of going
assholes
wisdom.
are really nice. Are overly nice. I did a show with I did a movie with that kid that played Stifler. I don't remember the actor's name right. Plays an asshole. The guy is a degrading jerk, right? And
Sean William Scott. By
Sean
the way,
William Scott.
There you
Producer
go.
Marissa coming in.
So
Sean
good.
William
Thank
Scott.
you, fact checker. He was so funny. And I said, listen, I've been in movies with Oscar winners and my family was not impressed. When I told my brother I was doing this scene with you, he was like, oh my God, Jennifer, you got to get me his autograph. That's the coolest shit I've ever heard. Right? He went nuts. And Sean goes, get him on the phone. Let's call him right now.
Aww.
He called my brother and talked to him and I was like, this is above and beyond. Yeah. Above and beyond. Such a nice guy. And I thought, man, he plays such a little shit. I wouldn't give that character the time of day. Right? And then you meet some of these people that play nice people and you're like, what a prick. I can't believe he's such a dick. That's unfortunate because he seems so nice on TV and he's just not, so you get to see kind of how people are in real life. And it was so lovely that she was so kind on the show. Yeah. And then, of course, that way in real life. And still is that way in real life. We have lunch, once a year. And, and she's just a great, great person. A very kind, very sweet human being. And very caring and involved in her community. And so... And that's how I want to be, right?
Yeah.
So seeing her, be this kind of person that I want to be and has been since I was little.
Yeah.
Has always been she's always been that for me. Yeah.
Wait, what time can we work on my experiment? Later. When? Right after Family Feud. Family Feud? Hey, that's some of the best kissing on TV. All right.
You're a saint. Isn't that Natalie a wonderful person? A true friend in every sense of the word.
Yeah, we all like her.
She's a goddess. That might be stretching things a bit. Nat's really saving my life. I'd love to do something for her. Get her a present. What would be the best gift for Natalie?
Rick Springfield.
Well, I think this is a very Gen X program, Facts of Life.
Very.
Now, do you feel like I don't know if Gen X pop culture has gotten its do?
I feel like it's coming around. I'm seeing so much more because are you Gen X?
I'm millennial.
You're millennial.
And so I know that my focus bias is going to be on that. But I was thinking about this as I was watching Facts of Life, and I watched Facts of Life intermittently when I was growing up. I was watching Facts of Life in syndication,
right?
And
that's why God made Nick at Night.
Exactly. And I would set up a pallet on the floor in front of the TV and watch Nick at Night, and I would have sleepovers in the living room by myself. And so I was watching this, thinking about how I feel like the millennial culture historians are now the ones who are journalists in their late 30s, early 40s and stuff, and so that's when they start training the focus of the media on the Paris Hilton documentary, the retrospectives on Britney Spears' image in the spotlight, what did we do to Megan Fox in the 2000s, these points of concern that are heavily millennial culture coded. And I'm well, wait a minute, I don't remember if we did that with Gen X touch points that I know I grew up with, but that weren't necessarily mine natively. And I feel like we skipped over that to doing deep drill downs onto millennial culture in hindsight. Have we done that with Gen X?
It's because
my bias just missed it?
We got rid of the E! True Hollywood Story.
Is that
That's what it is. Did you ever watch that show?
Yes.
That covered a lot of the Gen X stuff. A lot of the TV shows that were going on. There's one about Paula Abdul. It's very, very 90s. All of the pop culture things there.
Yeah.
And then that went away for, so nobody was diving into that stuff. I think also because Gen X was sort of the last generation to not be born with a phone in our hand.
Okay.
Is it right? We all use it.
Yeah.
We know how to do it. We weren't old fogies when it came out. We're not boomers. But I mean, we still did stuff. And now we have kids.
Yeah.
And so we're not those participation trophy parents.
Right, yeah.
We're get up. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And so I think there's a difference there because we weren't participation trophy kids.
Yeah.
That was a little after us. And now that we have kids, we're not doing that to them because we see how ridiculous that is.
That it is such a fascinating kind of bridge, because I feel like there's a sort of narrative around Gen X that is like Gen X erasure. It's sort of it gets elided over in the conference because fuck the boomers, we're reaping what they have sown.
Yeah.
And then those millennials, gross. And obviously the Gen Zers are the emergent, so they're very popular. They are Brat Summer,
yes.
They are the tastemakers.
They're going to save us, is what's going to happen. They're going to all show up and vote and save us. We're all going to get saved. This is the Shonda Rhimes ending I have been waiting for the whole time. I feel like Kamala Harris has been in a cave for 4 years. That's why we haven't heard from her.
I was just listening on your podcast talking about the Shonda Rhimes ending of Kamala Harris.
She's been training like Rocky in a cave for how to defeat this guy and these young people. I'm telling you.
Well, as you were saying, talking about, just talking about being in a sort of gaggle of comics, talking with them about the election and talking about talking about Natalie, Facts of Life, and that being the first heavy person you remember connecting with on. Now,
yes.
Growing up experiencing comedy as you were starting to get into comedy, did you feel outside of narrative in the comedy space, did you have more touch points of people that you felt resembled you, or was that similarly no, there's also a desert here?
No, that there were certainly more. That just happened later in life, right?
Yeah, okay.
Facts of Life was just earlier in my childhood for me, and she was a girl. A lot of the fat people I saw in comedy, in the stand-up world were men, really, until Roseanne came along.
Right. Yeah.
And then I've never watched another human being on TV as much as I've watched her. I literally, those first 5 seasons of that show, have them on repeat, bought them all when they came out on the Prime Video, and just watched them.
We were a Roseanne house.
And over and over. That character is so much like my mother. My mother is a very big woman. She's very mountainous. She runs the roost. She is the boss. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I mean, that's just how it was at our house. And so to have watched that and seen that and sort of, been around that persona for so long that all, I'm sure that character made my mother feel seen.
Yeah.
Because that sort of everything is a burden, but we're still plugging along and doing it, you know? So...
Well, then I will take us into our movie character that you brought up,
Yes.
which I had not watched this movie in a very long time.
I'm glad you had seen it, though.
I had seen it.
It is a very old... It was old when I was a kid. And it was the very first summer that we had HBO, back when you had to go up to the box on top of the TV and press the button. There was HBO, Showtime, and Cinemax, which we called Skinemax. Because at night they showed the after hours.
Cinemax doesn't really exist anymore, but I remember when Cinemax, they made that really awesome show, Warrior, that's an amazing, fighting combat show.
Is there no Cinemax anymore?
I don't know that they make new content anymore. There was a minute there where, because everybody was making originals for their specified networks, the Cinemax originals, there was another, an undercover woman show starring Carla Gugino. She's amazing. But even when I would hear about credibility shows, I would still be really, on Skinemax?
Right, yeah.
And that's 3 years ago. Even on Skinemax?
Yeah.
It's still in my mind.
I used to stay up late, wait till everybody went to sleep, and watch porn, basically.
I would watch
softcore
Taxi
porn.
Cab Confessions and Real Sex on HBO.
Oh, Real
Sex. Those were my, it's
one.
11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
and I'm sneaking into the living room.
Yeah.
And if I hear anything coming out of my parents' room, I'm just slipping it back to the Nintendo really
back
quick.
on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Done. Done. They are showing that. You can't do that on television. Is playing somewhere, right?
I've had long conversations with a friend of mine, a filmmaker friend of mine, who the kids will never know softcore because softcore doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But that was, I feel like that was a big conduit media.
I agree. So I'm impressed that you've seen this movie. It's an old movie.
It is. You guys may know it as a Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis vehicle, everybody, but it started as a Jodie Foster vehicle, the original Freaky Friday.
So good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
You're not going to believe me. Nobody in their right minds could possibly believe me, but it's true. Really, it is. At exactly 8:15 this morning... No, wait a minute. Let me start back a little further. My name is Annabelle Andrews. This is my room. Don't knock it. I like it this way. You don't have to look for anything.
Good morning, Daredevils. Friday the 13th. Ready for that one?
No way.
How old were you when you first watched it?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't really know. I imagine around 10. I feel like that's when I did everything. That's when I was 10. But the idea that you could switch places with your mom, right, was so exciting to me.
Really?
Loved that.
Because you wanted to make the switch?
Well, I wanted to be an adult.
Okay.
In my
that was
head,
one of my questions.
In my head as a kid, what would make me the happiest would be to be grown. To be able to eat a candy bar when I want to eat a candy bar, to be able to sleep as late as I want, to be able to put on the clothes I wanted to put on, to be able to go somewhere when I wanted to go somewhere, to be able to watch what I wanted on TV, go to what movies I wanted to see. If I want to go roller skating today, bye, bitch, I'm going roller skating. Just that's what being an adult to me was. And I think the part of the movie that resonated with me the most was the mom always wanted Annabelle, which was the character's name in the original movie. The mom always wanted her to dress girly. And this was my mother's problem with me. Right? I had all this long hair and she put me in dresses to go to school every fucking day. And all I wanted was, I had these corduroy pants that had little hamburgers and French fries on them. And I love those fucking pants. I love those pants more than I loved anything. The only thing I loved more than those pants was actual hamburgers and French fries, okay? So I would put those pants on, and I had this... God, this is so lesbian. I had this flannel, right? I love the way flannel felt. This blue and yellow and white sort of plaid flannel. It did not match these hamburger and French fry pants.
Probably
I
not.
did not fucking care. This was my outfit. And I had some little red cowboy boots.
It made you feel good. That outfit made you feel good.
Oh my God. Empowered. I remember being in first grade and being like, bam! Do it! So happy in my boots and my corduroys and my flannel with my little ringlet curls just falling all over the place. And my mother hated it. She hated it. In fact, I believe she will deny this, but she threw those pants away while I was at school one day. Yes, she said that they were that they didn't fit me anymore, and they fucking did. So,
She's also on my back to get my hair trimmed. I'm not falling for that again. Last time it was trimmed, they hacked 6 inches off of it. I mean, I try to be cool, right? My parents just seem to be immune to it. Sometimes I really blow my top, though. Like yesterday, I said to her, "What are you trying to do, change my whole entire image?" She said, "No, dear, I wouldn't know where to start." Chuckle, chuckle. I mean, that's really funny.
If it's any comfort to you, Annabelle, my mom's even rottener than yours.
Mothers just don't understand what a person goes through. I mean, I'm an individual, right? I can't eat what I want, wear what I want, to keep my hair and my nails the way I want.
So one of the things that really resonated with me about that character was that she was also a tomboy, which I didn't even have a word for.
The great cinematic legacy of the tomboy girl.
As Jodie Foster, who, as we know now, very power lesbian.
Yeah,
God bless her. Amazing in Naiad, if you haven't seen it. It's the first time she played a lesbian.
That is crazy to think about.
I know, and she's really good at it. It's really... I'm not kidding, because I just watched her in that Night Country.
Oh,
amazing. A buddy of mine wrote that whole series. And so to see her in it, but she was playing somebody who was kind of the town tramp.
It was
also a lesbian, but kind of an easy girl with the boys too. And it was unbelievable.
It was so crazy to see
cringy.
Jodie be like the slutty straight woman.
I know, but also she had a thing with that girl.
Yeah.
Which you did believe.
Yeah,
but the
absolutely.
slutty straight woman stuff, I was like, girl, not for a second.
Yeah,
you need to put that away. I do not buy it.
me?
And it's got nothing to do with what I know. It's got nothing to do with what I know about her. I promise. It was not believable.
No.
And so
it felt like
this was
internalized
so
homophobia.
Yes.
That
this
was just
it was
like, this is what I've got in the
self-loathing.
Arctic
Yes.
Circle.
Yes.
So.
And this was, and in Freaky Friday, she's so unapologetic for her tomboyishness.
Yeah.
And I love that about her. And I really identified with that sort of struggle between the mom and the daughter about looking girly, right? And so the fact that Annabelle was so, kick-ass as a tomboy, and so and I thought that about
the MVP of the field hockey team.
Yes.
Shut up, you guys, and listen! Now, remember our game plan. Get the ball to Annabelle. If anybody's gonna win it for us, it's our tough, hard-nosed, rock'em, sock'em, super jock Annabelle Andrews! Yeah! Get your butts out there and kill! Kill! Kill!
Look, I'm gonna try my best today, but if anything should go wrong, I mean anything.
Why should it?
Well, like I told you this morning, I'm not the same person today.
So I've noticed, but you have to snap out of it. This is a real important game.
I'll try. But I mean it literally, I'm not the same person.
And I could have literally watched, I could say that about any performance of Jodie. Candle Shoe. I mean, any of the movies she did as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, other than maybe Taxi
Driver. Yeah.
She's so boyishly, and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why I liked her so much, but I liked her so much. Her and Christy McNichol. I couldn't, oh my God. Christy McNichol could also do no wrong when I was a child. But, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was about them that I identified so much with. I didn't know why I felt so seen. I didn't know why I felt so comfortable and
right.
you know what I mean, watching it. But I mean, now I know. But at the time,
it crazy how that extra sensory perception that is there but is unnameable when you're little.
Yeah.
But then you grow up, you're like, holy shit, I was vibing with this in a way that none of even my friends who really liked this movie also they didn't like it how
Nancy
I liked
McKeon is straight. Joe Polnicek is straight.
Joe Polnicek is straight.
And she was straight on the show, I will say.
Yeah.
But she's also straight in real life, which I had a hard time believing. Because that was a mullet, my friend. She had a mullet for a good 2 years.
I mean, she shows up she gets introduced on Facts of Life. Joe gets introduced on Facts of Life.
By repairing a motorcycle.
And by Natalie being like, you're surprised I was going to ask her to the dance.
Yeah.
Being like, I was going to ask this cute boy to the dance with me.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Is this where I'm supposed to be?
Delivery boys usually use the rear entrance.
Delivery boy? Give me a break. Is this where I'm supposed to check in? I don't believe this.
You don't? I was gonna ask him to the fall dance.
I mean, her and Blair are such like, it's like, well, the fanfic universe of what that would be now. Like, that's just like enemies to lovers is
Absolutely.
what Joe and Blair are. It's time for a break, but we will be right back with more from Jen. And then at the end, I will have one quick thing before I go about the trailer I just can't stop thinking about, which is to the upcoming movie Y2K from Kyle Mooney, Saturday Night Live's Kyle Mooney. So stick around for that for some fun at the end.
The Greatest Generation has been going for more than 8 years.
And if you've been Greatest Gen curious, but have never taken the leap, we recommend exploring your Greatest Gen curiosity in a safe, fun environment with partners you can trust. And right now is one of the best times ever to become a new listener.
That's because we just started covering a new series, Star Trek Enterprise, one of the horniest and weirdest editions of Star Trek ever released.
This is your chance to ease into the Greatest Generation lifestyle.
The Greatest Generation, now covering Star Trek Enterprise, the one with Scott Bakula, every Monday on MaximumFun.org or in your podcast app.
Since 2017, Maximum Film has had the same slogan.
The podcast that's not just a bunch of straight white guys.
Ooh, we've learned something over the years. Some people out there really do not like that slogan.
Listen, we love straight white guys.
Well, some of them.
But if there's one thing we can't change, it's who we are.
I'm Iffy, a comedian who was on strike last year in 2 different unions.
I'm Drea. I've been a producer and film festival programmer for decades.
And I'm Alonzo, a film critic who literally wrote the book on queer Hollywood.
You can listen to us talk movies and the movie biz every week on Maximum Film.
We may not be straight white guys, but we love movies, and we know what we're talking about.
Listen to Maximum Film on Maximum Fun or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to Feeling Seen. I'm talking with comedian Jen Kober about seeing herself in a couple of places. First, the tomboyish Annabelle, as played by Jodie Foster in the original Freaky Friday, and also as Natalie, Mindy Cohn's character in the 80s sitcom The Facts of Life, which was set in a house full of students at an all-girls school called Eastland Academy.
The reason Natalie's been getting all those study dates is because, well, Neil's been saying she's
great in algebra?
No, it was more like real easy to get along with. If you know what I mean. Real easy.
You mean he's saying that I? That he? That we? How could he say that? I guess he just opened his big mouth.
And I thought Neil was such a nice kid.
I don't believe he'd do that to me. What am I gonna do?
Where I come from, we get your brother to break both his legs.
I went to an all-girls school until 4th grade. Oh. So also I think what resonated with me about that show in particular, too, was that they were at this all-girls school.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that made everything even more... Even though I wasn't at a boarding school, it was just a school that was only... But it felt very... When I made that transition from an all-girls school to a co-educational school, it just solidified the lesbian inside of me. I literally was like, the boys, the teacher's asking questions. Boys aren't raising their hands. They're sitting right there, idiots.
Yeah.
They don't say anything. They smell awful. They never have the right answer. They didn't do their homework. I'm like, why the fuck are we in school with these idiots? Why are we all playing to the lowest common denominator, which is this moron Matthew sitting here in the corner? I've never been so disappointed as I was when I started going to school with boys, because I was like, because I say all the time, I believe it. I have not met a man who I find to be on my level. I know that's a terrible thing to say. And I have men that I adore, that I love, but truly, it's about emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. And I think they are just not in any way and look, I haven't met all men. I hope that someone proves me wrong someday. I'll probably meet a man who was raised by lesbians who's exactly who I want to be friends with. But I just don't think they're raised with emotional intelligence. I don't think any of that is affirmed in them at a young age. And so even the best intentioned man just doesn't have the capability.
I feel like even the best intentioned guy, there is still a gap.
Yeah.
There's still like ground to be made up.
Yes.
And that is like, I most of the men in my life at this point, like the vast majority of them, I really couldn't name any who are gay men.
Yes.
And my wife, she, like, we saw like a guy in the window of a donut shop or something. We were walking around last night actually, and she was like, "Oh, that guy was cute." And I was like, "It's so funny you say that, because like now that you're saying that, I'm trying to think of when." I can't think of you interacting with a guy, like, socially.
I know.
And, like, I know she talks about, like, she grew up doing ballet and, like professionally. And so there were lots of men, but, like, that's not quite the typical, like, straight guy you're going to meet in a Swedish Ballet Academy kind of situation.
Right.
But I was like, I just don't, like, I can't actually picture you talking to a man.
I know.
That's so
I know. I always find if I ever say that about a man, if I ever say he's good looking, there's just there's no part of me that wants to touch him. Really.
You're like, it's Joe from Facts of Life.
But what I do find comforting and attractive about men is when I can talk to one who I feel like gets it. And even the ones that I'm like, man, he gets it the most out of any man I have ever talked to. Even that guy, I'm like, but he's a guy. Like I still had to explain a couple things. I had to, right? There's, and I don't know that they can help it because they are so favored in the world. Just as it's just the status quo in modern day societies. Men have just historically not had to work for things the way women have. And I'm not talking about men of color. I'm sure they've had their own plight, but still, I feel like being a man of color, you're still a man.
Yeah.
There's still there's this anti-female thing that keeps happening, and I don't know. It feels weird. I think what the problem is truly is that old adage of you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there have been things about the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, that I've been told. I always said, I dated a therapist for a long time. And so when I would say something was crazy, she would get really, right? Like, you can't say that it's crazy, right? It's outlandish. It's outrageous. Please don't use that word, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So instead of saying somebody was crazy, I would be like, man, that guy's out of his cotton picking mind. That's what I would say. It's a Southern phrase. It's a, right? And then somebody was like, girl, come here. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Here's what that's about. And I was like,
here's what a cotton picking.
What?
Yeah.
What? That never occurred to me.
Yeah, and
when
that's
I would
our
say,
privilege of having never had that occur to us until
when I
it's
would
pointed
say,
out to us.
Oh my God, that guy just gypped me out of like $4.
Yep.
And you can't say that. What do you mean? Well, it's about gypsies. It's about this. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought the word gypped meant you got tricked out of something, right? Like, I didn't know it came from
They're like, yes,
gypsy.
and the oppression of the Romani people in Italy is ongoing.
But I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I would, as if I knew, I would never say that.
Of course,
That's not who I am. But I didn't know. And so there has to be some allowance for that. But even in the not knowing, I feel like as a woman, if somebody said something to me, I would be like, ugh, here's what I want to say, but I'm not sure if I can say it. So let me have this sensitivity to ask you first or to look it up or to find information, where I think a man just says it and then goes, well, how the hell did I know? Right? Like, there's no understanding of, well, now I can't even say this. Now I can't even say that. If you tell my mother what someone's pronouns are, she loses her mind. Well, I'm not even going to call them. I don't know what the hell to call them, so I'm just going to call them by their damn name. That's what I'm going to do. Jill is over at Jill's house. That's it. I'm not messing with her pronouns. I'm like, Mama, you just said her. Oh, goddamn. Right? Like, there's no fixing it, right? There's some people that feel so attacked by you informing them of things that they may not know that it's, and I feel like men, as a general rule, if we are generalizing, have that problem more because, they just, I mean, there are statistics about all this. You've seen them. Yeah. Boys get called on 3 times more in classrooms.
Wage gap.
Yes. They make more money. They, their marital status and their child status plays a part in how they get paid and raises and promotions and such, but not the same for a single mom. So there's so many discrepancies, and the transition rate is very off, right? The amount of cisgender females who are becoming male is something like 800% what it is the other way. That tells me something. That tells me that a war on being female seems to be ingrained somewhere. And it's got to, there has to be some give and take from guys about it. And what's so lovely about seeing a woman with male energy is she's not afraid to do that, right? Like there's I mean, you saw with all the Olympic stuff, right? This male, female, he must be taking hormones because he's so graceful. This one must be taking because she hit me so hard.
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, it almost seems like we're arguing the other side of things because the side we were on didn't make sense, even though you were on the right side to begin with. Right? Like and so to see a woman, an actress, a performer, embracing that masculine side at such a young age really told me that it didn't matter that this was the kind of girl I was.
Yeah,
I'm a girl, right? Like this is, and it helps me understand, the difference between sexual identity and gender identity, which is, right? Like, while I am a boy, like if you called me your husband, I'd be like, that's right, bitch. Like, I'm not, I love that, but there's no part of me that wants to be a boy.
Yeah.
Right? That's not how I feel. This is the kind of girl I am. But also the idea of being non-binary, being gender fluid, and that didn't exist when I was a kid.
Of course, yeah.
That wasn't even vocabulary we had.
As far as it stretched when I was, it was bisexual. There was the word bisexual,
right?
But you were gay or straight.
But and that's not even bisexual. Doesn't even. Now there's pansexual. Now there's what's the difference between pansexual and bisexual? Well, pansexual, right? You're like, well, fuck. It all seems so. And you know what really blew my mother's mind was we knew we had a friend who transitioned to become a female. And now she's with a woman. And my mother is like, why didn't she just stay a boy to begin with? If you're just going to date women, why make it so hard on yourself? And I'm like, Mama, because this is her gender identity.
Yeah.
The dysmorphia. This is what she felt. This is what it, right? And my mother, I don't understand it. Why are you going to make things harder for yourself, right? Like, and that's it. She doesn't understand it. She's never had to understand it.
She's never had to understand it.
And I feel like that's how men feel about women. They don't get it because they've never had to get it.
Well, and I think that is an interesting thing. The most interesting thing to me about watching this Freaky Friday as a grown-up is the, like, men ain't shit through line of it.
Yeah.
Like, the neighbor boy Boris that Annabelle has this big crush on. Like, he starts, when Annabelle becomes the body of her mom, she starts kind of, like, trying to court her, like, insinuate herself to the neighbor boy Boris, and then he starts, like, having a crush on her mom, but he's just kind of a loser.
Say, I bet you'd do great for a lady.
Oh, if you think I'd be good, you should show Annabelle sometime. She'd really be good. She'd be so good.
I'd rather show you.
Not Mom. Me, dum-dum. Actually, Boris, lately Annabelle has completely changed. She's no longer the same person who cut your head open with a tin shovel in the playground 5 years ago.
4. Still got the scar.
Okay, 4.
Anyway, if you've seen her lately, you wouldn't recognize her.
Does she still have braces? Because if she still has braces, I'd recognize her.
I mean, now Annabelle is so nice. She's nice.
Well, I'm sure she is.
Extremely nice.
But Miss Andrews, to be perfectly frank, that's not saying much.
Boris, you turkey, I can't bear it.
Like, he's just kind of a loser boy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have anything interesting to say. He's just kind of got this opie-ish grin about him.
Right.
And she realizes that, like, the movie starts with, like, young Annabelle, like, sort of, like, giving us a walkthrough of her life. Like, her little brother's just so perfect. It's so annoying. And her mom is so overbearing. But her dad is the best. Her dad, I think she says, like, my dad is, like, the most beautiful human in the whole world.
William Waring Andrews, 45, 6 feet tall, well, 5'11 and a half. The hair's a little too short, but I've seen worse. All in all, a fantastically cool person. He's with Joffrin and Jennings, public relations, and the most beautiful person in the world. Almost.
And then as her mom, she starts calling her dad a misogynist pig because she sees how her dad is as a husband. And she, like, it's my least favorite unresolved thing about this movie is that, like, we don't get the part where her mom starts bossing her dad around once the bodies go back because she has realized that, like, oh, you're a misogynist and this is a problem.
Yeah.
But that is a part of it, is young Jodie Foster having to realize that men ain't shit.
Yeah.
I've got a real problem now. Will you listen to me for half a minute? We have no buffet for the marina tonight. There was some confusion. Mrs. White thought Mrs. Matthews was going to handle it. Mrs. Matthews thought Mrs. White was going to handle it.
So, big deal. Who's gonna handle it?
You are.
Me?
Look, there's only going to be about 25 people. I've already told them what a great cook you are, so just one of your little gourmet spreads should be fine.
No, but I...
Honey, you got 3 whole hours. It should be a snap. Thanks, love. Goodbye.
Male chauvinist pig.
Mommy, why did you call Daddy a male chauvinist pig just now?
Because that's what he is.
But what is one?
A male chauvinist pig is a husband who spends 3 months taking bows for a big shindig he's gonna throw, and when he blows it, he gives his wife 3 hours to save his skin.
And it's a Disney movie. That's
It's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
I watched it again on Disney Plus, so it's right there at your fingertips. You know what you could watch on Disney Plus? The Mandalorian and original Freaky Friday.
Yes.
You could have a Jen
Yes.
Kober double.
Also on there, I'm in a show called The Diary of a Future President. I play a science teacher.
You're like,
that
in fact, those were the
series.
sides that I read for The Mandalorian that were then...
To get that part. To get that part. I love a good Disney show. I love a good Disney show. And that Disney Plus kept me so happy during the pandemic. Every Muppet movie is on there.
You know what
All
is
of
also,
them.
You know what also is on there? Have you ever seen Big Business?
Oh my God, that's like my movie. What are you talking about?
Disney Plus.
Snake Eyes. I love that fucking movie.
That
is
that
when I met
movie.
Lily Tomlin, that's the movie that I kept saying lines. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Girl, remember in Big Business when you were with the putt guy and you switched dresses and y'all had on the same, remember?" And she was like, "No, that was like 20-something years ago. I do not remember it. Stop talking." But
Well,
yes, that's a great movie.
I'm going to make Big Business the parting note of this conversation.
Excellent.
And,
It's a great note to end on.
Yeah, it's a great note to end on. And, you know, speaking of like ladies for ladies, Lily Tomlin.
I mean, really.
Lily Tomlin. Really? And the beautiful life partnership friendship she has with Jane Fonda.
I love them
yeah,
together. I
just
could
like
watch them do anything.
To go out on
And
on
she's
Lily
been
Tomlin.
with her partner for
so long.
I mean, since God was a boy.
Yeah.
Like a long I don't remember them not being together.
It's kind of like how like Queen Latifah's just like always, it's always been. Like, yeah.
I know. It's don't you remember the day Boy George came out and you were like, duh. Next up, fire's hot and water's wet. What are y'all doing? Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Lily, for your years of service.
Thank you, Big Business. Thank you, Jodie. And thank you, Jen Kober, for coming on the show today.
Of course.
And covering all this ground with me. I really appreciate it.
So much fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Jen Kober. You can go check out Jen's new special, No Flies on Me, on YouTube. And she is also going to be performing in Las Vegas all throughout September, and we will put a link to her website in the show notes. And now that one quick thing before I go, I recently, maybe it was last week, did a little roundup of the fall horror movies that we're getting that look like so much fun, or end of year horror stuff, maybe not fall specifically, and one that I just wasn't even thinking about, not in my mind at all, but looks like is going to be a little hoot and a holler of a time, from writer and director Kyle Mooney, who has made a feature film before. He's hilarious. I totally trust him. He's a great little weirdo. He has brought us the movie Y2K, which is exactly what it sounds like, from A24. It is about a group of teens coming together for a house party, near as I can tell from the trailer. And when they are at the New Year's party, they flip over to Y2K happens. And, at the time, millennials and upward, you may remember the Y2K panic, that all the computer clocks couldn't handle the reset back to zero, and it was gonna, technologically nuke civilization by shutting everything down and, basically, I don't know, Escape from LA, take us back to the Stone Age and everything, just, obliterate modernity. That doesn't seem like it's specifically happening in Y2K, but it does seem like technology is banding together in the form of aggressive robots to fight the human aggressors, oppressors, villains, enemies. It looks like a blast. I couldn't get out of my head when I was watching the trailer. The movie stars Rachel Zegler, Jaden Martell, Julian Dennison, Fred Durst makes an appearance. Is that none of those people really, I wouldn't imagine even Rachel Zegler has that Y2K association. They are basically starring in a historical fiction. I imagine them reading the script, and each of them reading the script and being LOL, can you believe people freaked out about this shit and were so hysterical at the thought of Y2K, just laughing at anybody older than them who lived through the Y2K agita. I'm so happy for them. That would be that's like me starring in Barry Lyndon and being yes, these ye old times. Anyway, it's great to be an elder millennial. Just absolutely love it, and appreciate Kyle Mooney bringing our vital culture to the screen. Yes, and that is our show. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FeelingScenePod, or send us an email at feelingscene@maximumfun.org. If you want to follow me, I am Jorcru on Twitter. That is JORCRU. Our theme music is by Andrew Eapen. The show is produced by Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported directly by you.